Today we're going to be making chicken skewers, and we're going to be focusing on our mise-en-place. Here you can see the Hawaiian teriyaki chicken skewer recipe that I chose to use. I used the same marinade, but I swapped out a few of the vegetables. Now we're going to prepare our mise-en-place. Mise-en-place is a French culinary phrase which means putting in place, or everything in its place. Now we're going to prep all of our ingredients according to the directions in separate bowls so that they are ready to go when we need them. The first thing I'm going to do is soak my skewers in some water. I do this because it helps keep the skewers from catching fire when you grill them. I place knives on top of them to help weigh them down in the water. Next, I'm going to prepare the bell peppers. The directions in the ingredients say to cut off the pepper into 1-inch pieces. I will then cut the top off the pepper and then clean out the seeds from the inside and put it into a separate bowl. I then turn it upside down so that I can cut on the flat edge. I will cut the pepper into 3 separate chunks and then take each chunk and cut them into strips. I cut each strip into 1-inch pieces. I will do this for the entire pepper and then put the pieces into a bowl. I will do the same thing for the orange pepper. Now I'm going to cut the zucchini. First, I'm going to cut off the end and then cut the remaining of the zucchini into 1/4 to 1/2 inch slices. When I am finished, I will put them into a separate bowl. Now I'm going to cut up the chicken. I made sure that I cut the chicken up last so that I would not cross-contaminate on the cutting board with the chicken. The ingredients say to cut the chicken into 1-inch cubes. The first thing I did was cut off any fat that I find on the chicken. Then I cut it into strips to make it easier to cut into the 1-inch cubes. I do this for both pieces of the chicken and then I put them into a separate bowl. I decided to use canned pineapples rather than fresh pineapple, since the recipe also calls for pineapple juice. This way, I can drain and measure out the juice for the marinade, and the pineapple is already cut out. I drained out the juice into a separate bowl, and then I put the pineapple into another bowl. Then I measure out the 1/4 cup juice. The measuring cup that I use has measurements that you can see from the top, so this way it made it easier to measure. Now we're going to measure out the brown sugar. I make sure I pack it in against the side of the container and then with the back of a spoon. And then I level it off with the back of a knife and put it into a separate bowl. Next we have 1/2 cup soy sauce. I'm using the same measuring cup that you can see the numbers from the top. So I fill it up to 1/2 cup and then put it aside. Now we're going to measure out the garlic. I'm going to use minced garlic rather than mincing my own garlic. So I'm going to measure out 1/2 teaspoon and then 1/4 teaspoon. Next I'm going to measure out 1/2 teaspoon salt. I'm going to measure it over a separate custard cup, level it off, and then add it to a container. Now I'm going to measure out 1/4 teaspoon pepper the same way. Next I'm going to measure out 1 tablespoon cornstarch. I'm going to spoon it into the tablespoon, level it off with the back of the knife, and then add it to a custard cup. And the last thing I'm going to measure is 1 tablespoon water. And there you have it, a perfectly prepared mise-en-place. Everything is cut and prepared according to the directions. Now I'm ready to start cooking. Now it's time to cook. The first thing we're going to do is combine the water and the cornstarch in a small bowl and then whisk them together. In a saucepan, we are going to add soy sauce, pineapple juice, brown sugar, salt, pepper, and garlic. We're going to whisk them together. After everything is combined, we are going to add our cornstarch and water mixture to the saucepan. Now we're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to let it boil for 1 to 3 minutes until the mixture just starts to thicken. Once it's thickened, we're going to remove it from the heat and reserve about 1/4 cup of the sauce for later. Once the sauce is cooled, we're going to add the sauce to the chicken and let it marinate in the fridge for at least 30 minutes up to a few hours. Now we're going to prepare the skewers. This step is so much easier now that I have all my ingredients prepared. I thread on 1 piece of chicken, pineapple, red pepper, chicken, zucchini, orange pepper, and chicken again. I repeat this step twice for each skewer until I run out of food. Now I'm going to grill the skewers. I place each skewer on the pan so they're not touching. I'm going to grill them for 4 minutes on one side and then flip them over and grill them for another 4 minutes on the other side. I'm also going to put a grill pan on top to help them cook a little bit faster. After the 4 minutes are up, I'm going to take the lid off and flip them over one more time and cook them for another 2 to 4 minutes with the top back on. When I think they are finished, I'm going to take a knife and cut through one of the larger pieces of chicken to make sure it's cooked all the way through. Then I'm going to remove them from the grill onto a plate. And there you have it, perfectly made chicken vegetable skewers.